A very good morning and welcome to Newsline here on MTV on the 2nd of October, just 3 months more for the end of the year, and the Sri Lankan political arena is heating up both domestically and internationally. If you were watching the news yesterday, you would have noticed the UN resolution that was passed in Geneva yesterday without a vote. We'll be talking about that on the Newsline program later on. But let me introduce to you my fellow announcer today, that is Mr. Bandula Jayasekara, former diplomat and journalist. Good morning, Bandula.
Morning, Mahina.
Bandula, now
you're already planning for the new year, right? You said 3 months more and already planning.
Well, everyone, you know, we hope to plan, we aspire to plan, but plans spoil at the last minute, so who knows? Bandula, now before the show we were talking about you know, what we were going to discuss today, and there's a lot to discuss.
And there's something very important, Mahina, which I want to tell our viewers. The Air Force commander, Gagan Bulatsinghala, has no vehicle. What happened was, when Gagan, we thought we must tell our viewers and whoever who's listening and watching us, now once he was made the Air Force commander, the Chief of Defence Staff was, the former Air Force commander, Kolita Gunithalaka, was made the Chief of Defence Staff. And Kolita has taken almost most of the vehicles. And Gagan has no proper official vehicle, being the Air Force commander. And also we heard of this incident in Ratmalana Air Force camp where Gagan was going for an official event, the vehicle stopped. So it was a ceremonial official event. So he was embarrassed, and I am told, very reliably, my sources are very correct, that he is using a vehicle given by the Army Commander, General Krishanta De Silva. That's sad. I think this is what is really happening.
So why wasn't an official vehicle being given to the Air Force?
The Chief of Defence Staff, who was the Air Force commander, took it with them. So this is what happens. Now most of these commanders change, but they are not handed, their official vehicles are not given, the residences are not given. So this is continuing. So when you know you have to go, you have to make this. I hope, I mean, I know this for a fact. I think maybe Gagan should appeal to the Secretary of Defence. But I think we are the people's channel. We give him a voice. Even though he hadn't told us directly, we thought we'll bring it up.
Well, Bandula, let me also introduce our guest this morning, the leader of the Mahajan Eksat Peramuna parliamentarian, Dinesh Gunawardena. A very good morning.
Good morning
and welcome to the show. Let me put that question to you about this problem of official vehicles. Now, during the previous regime, there was a lot of allegations about official vehicles lying around, you know, compounds full of official vehicles being found. Why is it a problem in this regime, which speaks of good governance? Why is there a problem?
Have you handed over your official ministerial vehicles and everything? Have you handed over?
Long ago, I left on the 9th of January.
Are you sure about it?
2 days after I vacated the house. So, no, but as you know, there are various circulars on which various officials act. There are circulars where the officials could hold the vehicle for a certain period. There are circulars where the official has to be immediately given his official vehicle. So as Bandula mentioned, the transition is a big issue in Sri Lanka.
But only person, like I know, during President Wijetunga's time, your good classmate Ranil Wickremesinghe handed over the resident. He walked out gracefully. That's the only incident. Otherwise, they still continue. Take Summit Flats. These people are still there. They are not even ministers. They are not even MPs. But you know, foolishly, Mahina, people call them minister, which is they are not. But they hold on to this. So there should be, you know, before other investigation, we should start from these politicians and others.
Follow the Prime Minister's example.
Now, but on the flip side, there are politicians who use their own personal vehicles, who drive their personal vehicles.
Like Harsha De Silva is, we know for a fact, one example.
Exactly.
So, but
there are so many. There were prime ministers who drove their own vehicle. Late Dudley Senanayake, he drove his own vehicle as prime minister. And there have been occasions when the media reported those days, prime minister is stopped by the policeman, the whistle, and the prime minister stopped.
Yeah, we have incidents in Britain and, you know, Australia, where Cherry Blair, you know, got caught without a ticket. She was, but then it's not happening. We have no security threat, but people are continuing.
Security is the biggest threat.
But this is the voice. You should do it in Parliament. You are in the opposition. You should go in Parliament and say, look, our people are doing wrong. Why don't you say that? Give a voice all this against corruption of their own people.
We have been racing to cut down on the security and remove all these things, because today there is no security risk.
But can you go into the parliament and say, look, we'll say, for example, we'll take a example, we'll say Bandula Gunawardena, your friend, and say, look, he hasn't returned this vehicle. Can you say that in parliament, give us a voice?
Yeah,
say.
If we know the correct information, we can do so. But this has to be set at some level, you know. The circulars also give room for everyone to play about Bandula. This is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
These old draconian regulations and circulars have to change.
There are loopholes in the system.
Very much.
Okay.
Yeah, now,
that's why people are playing.
Yeah, coming back, now you're a member of parliament from the UPFA. But didn't you and many others take former President Mahinda Rajapaksa for a ride and get elected?
Mahinda Rajapaksa is a seasoned politician. I think he has had a long batting in politics. No one can take him for a ride. Perhaps, though, he of course jokes sometimes that he only listened to the mistakes by the astrologers.
Yeah.
But I don't think the politicians can take him for a ride. We never took him for a ride. We wanted to come back to power under his leadership. That is why we formed a new agitation after January, and we came closer to the gates of power.
But if really speaking, you, the likes of Veeravansas and Gaman Pillars, they have never been in parliament if you didn't drag for the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
And there were allegations that were leveled saying that you wanted to come into power through Mahinda Rajapaksa, using Mahinda Rajapaksa's popularity and his voter base to secure seats in parliament.
No, Mahinda Rajapaksa was the popular leader at that time, even after his defeat. You know, thousands and thousands of people were visiting him in his own village house. I mean, it never happened. I have seen Mrs. Bandaranaike out of power. She never had visitors in that number.
Yeah.
So Mahinda Rajapaksa had to muster his own supporters in the country, because at that time he was the ousted president. He was not on good terms with the incumbent president. Obviously, there was a
now they are standing together for the party.
It happens after the political movement. The new movement took place. The attempt to come back to power, to defeat the UNP. That's what I said. We came closer to the gates of power.
Yeah.
But of course, people's result. I feel we won, but our legs were pulled down by the incumbent people in power. Otherwise, we would have won the election.
Yeah.
Well, just a reminder to anyone who's tuned in to Newsline, just reintroducing our guests this morning, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, parliamentarian, who is the leader of the Mahajana Eksath Peramuna, and also my co-host this morning, Mr. Bandula Jayasekara, former diplomat and journalist. Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, just to throw another question at you now, you were speaking about raising a voice in parliament, but we saw last week where you and a group of other UPFA members took to the streets, actually just in the environs of the parliament, and protested against not being given a voice in parliament.
I'll take it. That's a good question. But also, what happened with your classmate, with your good friend? Your fight was against Ranil Wickremesinghe. Didn't he speak to you nicely? Wasn't he kind to you?
No, the issue was really an issue of whether we could take the finance bills violating the standing orders. Now, the Speaker had to give a ruling, and the Speaker took time. Even now, there is an issue on that same issue, and the bills are not being taken. These are finance bills amounting to over billion rupees. Now, because of this issue, we in the opposition, we have the majority in opposition, we have our time allocation has been very limited. Apparently, the time allocation given is not enough even for 5 members. So we had to voice. The only way was to protest, walk out of parliament, and to tell the people what happened in parliament.
Yeah, but you also complain that your friend, I want to emphasize, because you all grew up together, you Andhra Bandaranaike and Ranil Wickremesinghe, but you also complain that he didn't speak properly, he didn't address you all properly. I know you complain.
That you all were addressed by bird and animal.
Yeah, bird and animal, I say, all that. That's all right in English. When you say I say, then Sinhala it becomes bad. That's what. What happened?
Of course, the Prime Minister has been using, certain words and maybe naming people. Maybe it's we thought it's a joke, but when you continue like that, it doesn't become a joke.
But once you left Parliament, or when you were preparing to leave Parliament, the Prime Minister did say that, these UPFM members left when there was a debate in hand. We've opened the floor for debate, and the TNA parliamentarians and the JVP parliamentarians continued with the debate.
And also said you all were reading a beggars' revolution. That's what the Prime Minister said.
To empty benches, Prime Minister can say anything. But the issue is that we have won the day. What we raised has now become a big issue for the government, Bandula. They have not been able to get a clear legal interpretation on this bill. That was our objection. Even Honorable Sarath Amunugam, former minister, joined us. Even the scheduled debate for Tuesday has been postponed because there's a serious legal issue. This is the issue that we raised. So we do not want Parliament to violate each and every laid down law in the country and laid down laws of Parliament.
Now let's talk of MR and MS. Now, former president left the nation. We are talking in connection to Geneva and international relations. Left the nation in shambles. But where, as President Maithripala Sirisena and your friend, like the likes of Mangala Samaravira, all these people, they are reaching out and repairing this international damage. Why don't you help? Instead of shouting and screaming about other things, help Maithripala Sirisena, because we as Sri Lanka, as a country, you could help the president and strengthen his hands.
There is no issue in helping the president or the government of the day. We will act as a responsible opposition, but we have to be critical of areas which will bring worse danger to the country. We are a sovereign, independent country, and we have to protect our sovereignty and independence, irrespective of what the consequences that have been just threatened. I mean, many countries we are able to explain. Our country is able to explain most of the charges that have been laid. We do not want anything to happen beyond our constitution.
Yeah, but if
there is a constitution in the country.
Get together with the president, because he has reached out. I mean, you can see, however much, we talk of China and all that, but our dealings are with the West. I mean, we cannot deny, how many of you people, MPs and ministers, send your children to China for your education? You don't. You send them to Washington or London or anything. So if we can do that as a country, that is the responsibility towards the people.
No, true that we have to attempt to go to the maximum possible, but we can't surrender that on issues which are, most of the issues are incorrect information.
And
why are you silent on sorry?
If I take the issue of the 40,000 missing people, it's very clear. We have approved our commission, the Justice Paranagamas Commission. Why can't the government openly place it before the commission and say, here is the commission report, accepted by international experts, the figure is wrong. This is what we are saying.
I think Justice Paranagama has responded. He has responded. But shall we put it this way now, again on these issues? Now you say there are two oppositions, Mr. Sambandhan's opposition and your opposition. Now why can't your opposition speak about the central bank, avant-garde issue? Why are you silent? You all are only talking of your rights, so speak on our behalf.
No, Bandul, I disagree. It was our opposition that raised the issue of the central bank, and this issue will come up again. And so many other issues in relation to the financial scandals that have taken place. Financial scandals are one side of the issue. The economic crisis today, the depreciation of the rupee, that will bring economic crisis, is another issue that should be the current issue of discussion in Parliament. Parliament is not being given enough debating time for this. Our currency is getting devalued. We are going in for a serious crisis. Government revenue has dropped. Our reserves are dropping.
But the previous also, before President Sirisena took over, it was in crisis.
President Sirisena did say that they're picking up the pieces from MR's regime. So could you blame the current regime in this short span of time to rectify all these economic crises, financial crises that have happened over the past years.
And also, I like to quote from your learned friend, Professor G.L. Piris. Always he says, give us time and space. Why don't you give President Sirisena and Ranil Wickremesinghe time and space?
No, we have given
GL's famous words.
We have given time and space. We'll act as a responsible opposition. They have had 100 days, which they promised to the country. I mean, surely, when you prepare to take over power, you should be prepared to implement immediately the office of power and the commitments that you made to the country. You know, say, I would bring the best example today, the scientific allocation of ministries. You take highways, higher education together. How can it be scientific?
What about botanical gardens by Mahinda Rajapaksa to Jayarat Nehra? Botanical gardens.
Yeah, but
it's still
Mahinda was okay. Mahinda, if Mahinda did a mistake, the new government was not going to repeat that mistake. Why are they repeating?
Who gave
the
that
same
ministry? Was it Ranil Wickremesinghe or the president? Can you? I'm sure you know the inside information. Who gave that?
Yeah, someone had given, and the person has taken
because
notes.
Mr. Kirihalla is a UNP member of parliament. Maybe Mr. Wickremesinghe did that. Who allocated and who gave? What about Malik Samad Wickremesinghe? He got a powerful ministry.
Good, I mean that's the UNP chairman, I think.
Yeah, so but so
Malik has got a key portfolio.
But he has no experience,
but
previous experience as a member of parliament.
Malik has experience because Malik is a businessman.
Yeah.
So the private sector has been brought in. I don't know how he will perform. That is another. But finance ministry for the first time in our country has been split into 3 ministries. This is the tragedy that we are going to face. Banks and the state sector with 1 minister. I guess the finance minister has been reduced to only the treasury.
Yeah.
Central bank and other institutions come under the prime minister. So how can...
What has Ravi got?
I must ask Ravi what he has got.
No banks.
I don't see much.
Not even the blood bank.
Not even the blood bank. As we read.
As we read the newspapers. But coming back now, Geneva, I want to say now, is former President Mahinda Rajapaksa with you all going to lead the anti-Geneva group? You can tell me yes or no. What's happening? Is there a split? Yes or no?
No, we have not met President Mahinda Rajapaksa on the issue. But on our own, the opposition parties took a decision to defend the sovereignty and the independence of our country and call upon the government to respect the constitution of Sri Lanka.
And you have actually voiced your vehement opposition to Sri Lanka co-hosting this resolution, and this resolution was passed without any vote in the UNHRC. When you listened to President Maithripala Sirisena's speech the other day at the UN General Assembly, what went through your mind, Mr. Gunawardena?
No, President Sirisena's speech, I think I must commend. I mean, he made a good speech. As our head of state, he tackled 2-3 issues which are very important to our country as well as to the entire world, like the issue of the environment, etc. That is one aspect. But the aspect of a country being accused on facts which are not correct, and the accused accepting with those who have accused the country and joining in the resolution is something that...
No, we'll wait and see. I mean, like...
That is something which...
We'll wait and see.
No, the thing is, I think in principle, it was a big mistake.
But do you
Sri Lanka could have avoided being a co-sponsor of the resolution.
Yeah, but these politicians, now take President Sirisena or Prime Minister Wickremesinghe, now they are not going to, they have to go back to the voters. They are not going to do something which will harm them. They have to go back to elections, like the way you do. So would they do that? Would they commit harakiri? I don't think so.
Yeah,
you think they'll commit harakiri?
Let us see what will happen, because Bandula, it's not going to be so a smooth path, because they feel that they have the numbers in parliament and the numbers can do anything, which is not the correct thing.
Yeah, previously also the number game, the extending the term, all that is still with the numbers.
No, Bandula, economy can change everything other than the numbers.
Yeah, but
I'm telling you, if the economy collapses, they have pumped in $700 million to keep the rupee, to hold the rupee, and they lost. The rupee is depreciating every day. I mean, these are the issues which are not taken up for discussion at all key levels.
What about what Niwad did then? My friend Niwad, your friend Niwad. What about what Niwad did?
What Niwad did or what
He spoke better than Arjuna.
PB Jayasundara did is that there was growth in the country. Of course, the allegation
I don't know,
is
the
that
masses
there
don't feel it.
But now there's
corrupt.
been a lot of sort of criticism about this growth that the previous regime was talking about. Analysts have come in and said that this growth is not the actual growth that everyone envisaged. So what is this? Is this rhetoric or is this the actual situation?
No, okay, even if what they say, you chop off 2%, 2.5%, still Sri Lanka's growth was very much ahead than others.
That's
and what has happened today?
Yeah.
100 days, they stopped the entire construction.
No, but you have to
They come to a standstill today.
No,
that is about 2.7% of the GDP.
No.
The entire construction sector is at standstill.
But can I say this? No, you are a very respected politician. You are, you want to say, I hope so, fine, right? We as a group here respect you. The people, your father, all that. So can you act as a responsible opposition instead of and move ahead into help the nation, help the masses? Can you do that?
Without simply walking out of
walking
Parliament.
out and just begging along the parliamentary road. You could do that.
Of course, Prime Minister sees us in that way, but the country, I don't think the people would see us begging on the streets because we have taken the cause to the people. If we can't, if Parliament does not give us time, this happened in Sri Lanka Parliament before.
But people don't feel it.
The people feel it because this battle has to be taken by us. We are the majority of the opposition. We are the overwhelming majority of the opposition. We are being suppressed.
Who is suppressing?
Of course, the people who are running Parliament. The numbers of the opposition with us are 3-4 times the numbers of the leader of the opposition.
Why are you being suppressed, Mr. Gunawardena? What is the reason behind this? What do you feel? Is this reason for this suppression?
Good question.
No. We thought we are harassed, but you are saying you are harassed.
Because we are opposing the government. As a responsible opposition, we are opposing and we are not just saying yes to everything of government.
Did you act as a responsible government then?
So are you alleging that the TNA is responding positively to everything that the government is saying?
They are with the government. They are nothing to respond.
So they are acting as a responsible opposition. At least now see what I am saying, we are all Sri Lankans. Mr. Sambandhan reached out to the president and president reached out. See, even though we brought the President Rajapaksa, I was a part of it, he brought in the terrorism, but he couldn't reach out even in spite of the development. It's the hearts and minds what matters with the Sri Lankan Tamils or Muslims, anybody. It's the hearts and minds. He could reach that. Why is that?
But the issue is the Mahinda Rajapaksa's decision and the regime was able to restore democracy right throughout the country in the north after 30 years. This is the biggest victory that the people have had in the north.
Nobody is taking it away from him.
Irrespective of the damages.
Yeah.
In a conflict, you get damages. Economy, physical property, people, all that is correct. Even the TNA today is able to express their viewpoints because the LTT is not there.
No, it is true, it is agreeable, but then there's so much more to do to reaching out.
Very much.
Hearts and
There's
minds.
more than physical development that we talk about.
Correct. We agree. We have to unitedly build up our nation. The Sinhalese, the Tamils and the Muslims.
Yeah, no,
this is what we started.
Sri Lankan
we started.
But then, why don't you look at the masses, look at us and work together, but not by taking perks and all these vehicles, not by to give all that back, if you really want to genuinely serve us. Can you all do that?
But to get back to the buses must run, Bandhula. If the buses are not running, those days when we went to college, there was a bus on the correct time. We got into the bus, went to school, got back. But today the whole thing is in utter chaos.
What about the water board? Aren't you a some people say you're a bankrupt politician. I'm saying, the viewers are saying, are you? What did you achieve at the water board?
In a way, I'm happy to be called bankrupt because I didn't make money. I am not a rich man.
You're sure?
By holding office.
I thought people go to parliament to make money.
That is a generalization that is being done. But water board has increased its connections during my time by about 50%.
You got water at home?
Happy.
Proper water?
Yeah, why not Colombo? Colombo water supply is a continuous 24-hour supply today.
Well, there have been a lot of allegations about, if you talk about previous ministries, there have been allegations about corruption, fraud in certain ministries. Does your ministry have a clean bill, the Water Supply and Drainage Board which you held? Does it have a clean bill?
Very much, but if there are allegations, it should be inquired and action taken, because the problem is minister does not take all decisions. This is where we have to draw the line. Ministers, the officials who sit on tender board, who sit on various decisions in the corporation, they take decisions.
But minister can influence.
But the whole thing comes on the minister finally.
Minister can influence.
Minister,
otherwise you will transfer those officials. That's what happens.
Yeah, Bandul, if the minister starts interfering in everything, as you say, all the vehicles and all the motorcycles will be parked in the ministry. This is what happens. So ministers need not interfere in good governance. They should only lead the policy. You see, others should be responsible, answerable and accountable.
But if a ministry acts efficiently, effectively, doesn't the minister take the credit for it? But as soon as there is something, corruption, fraud, scams, something negative that is being hurled at the ministry, the minister most often than not washes his hands off it, saying, I wasn't informed, it's not my decisions, there are several other key players here. Why is this the kind of culture we have in our politics, this washing of hands?
And also the immediate family is the secretary, the whole run by the immediate family. That's what happens.
That happened, which has been approved and given room by all governments.
Yeah, so
but we have to go into a new era. This is what I am saying. Change of governance. Just by saying we are committed for good governance is not going to help. There has to be change. A change has not taken place. If a change has taken place, Bandula, the whole agitation was to reduce the number of ministries to 30. Now as I see a minister without office in the newspaper
nothing.
doing nothing. But the numbers have increased. How can you reduce the expenditure? How can you reduce this conflict of interest?
But coming by the, we are running short of time. But what I want to say, like you're talking of change. But I see a change. We don't see Veeravansas going in front of the UN and having like fasting, right? We don't see that. Yeah, fast unto death. He's still alive, right? We don't see that, right? But we see change. We see people reaching out international. That's what we see. Don't you think that's a change?
Maybe the experience has given the change. The experience of being in front of the UN office.
Yeah. Okay, right. My last question.
Don't call him to go and protest again.
No, we will not do that. In fairness to you, your legacy, you have a good name, good reputation. But can't you move out of with these bad eggs, bad colleagues, and go on a separate journey on behalf of the people?
In a political movement, you get all. And today, political fronts are taking over than political parties alone. So, political movements absorb everyone. When the movement takes place, you cannot pick and choose and say you leave the movement. But when you get into power, you have to pick and choose and
then
guide the country.
We will have to say, God save the country. All yours.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, the leader of the Mahajan Eksat Perumana and parliamentarian, and also Mr. Bandhu Jayasekar, former diplomat and journalist, for joining us on the show today. On that note, we conclude today's Newsline. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourself a great day ahead.